Chicken in the UK is dirtier than ever. We are going through the most serious avian flu season in more than a decade. Salmonella cases are surging, and even more worrying is food fraud. Cheap imported chicken posing as British unclear labelling, and even places mixing lower standard products onto the shelves without telling anyone. It is not just stomach aches. The price we pay is gastritis and prolonged infections. Dirty chicken does not only poison you immediately, it also weakens your digestive system over time. What is frightening is that the poultry industry is trying to hide this for profit, and do not wait for supermarkets to issue recalls or for the government to apologise. In this video, I will show you 5 supermarkets you must avoid, 2 safe places I genuinely recommend, and finally the set of principles that will protect you for life, no matter how the food industry changes. Chicken, the most questionable food in the UK in 2025. For years, we have always seen chicken as the safest choice on the table. Many countries even wish they had a poultry inspection system like the UK's. But what I am about to say may surprise you, never has our chicken been quite as dirty as in 2025. This year, the poultry industry has gone through the most serious avian flu outbreak in many years. Hundreds of thousands of birds have been culled, and many free-range farms have had to confine their entire flocks to avoid infection. Just a small mistake in handling or supervision immediately raises the risk of contamination, something ordinary consumers never see. Alongside this has been a wave of rapid-fire chicken product recalls since the beginning of the year. It doesn't matter whether you buy fresh chicken-breaded chicken or ready-cooked chicken. These very convenient categories have repeatedly appeared in alerts for Salmonella listeria, undeclared allergens, or incorrect use by dates. Even more worrying is the recent report of thousands of meat fraud cases uncovered by the food crime authorities. Relabeling extending shelf life, refreshing old meat, or mixing meat from unclear sources are all happening in the context of heavy supply chain pressure. Everything that could go wrong seems to have gone wrong with our chicken. I am not saying you must stop eating chicken. I am simply saying that 2025 is no longer the time to choose chicken the way you used to. And this is why I must be frank. There are 5 places where this year, if you care about your health, it is best not to buy chicken. Number 1. Tesco. If there is one place you have always trusted as a safe spot to buy chicken, then unfortunately, it is precisely the place I worry about most. Tesco has long been part of British life, almost an extension of every household kitchen. When nearly 1/3 of the nation's food baskets pass through their system, it is easy to understand why most of the chicken Britons cook each week comes from this very supermarket. They have everything you could think of, from whole birds, thighs, breasts, fresh frozen marinated, to rotisserie chicken, ready to take straight to the table. It all sounds appealing, but it is this very familiarity that makes me cautious. In many years of inspecting and monitoring food quality, I often notice something quite similar. The more familiar something is, the easier it is for people to let their guard down. Many believe Tesco's chicken is always good, always fine, always up to a high standard. But when I looked at their product list, I realised only a small proportion meets the better chicken commitment, mostly their premium ranges or a few corn-fed lines. The majority of standard chicken remains fast-growing industrial birds with lower welfare than consumers tend to imagine. What troubles me most is not that the chicken is poor, but that the wording on the packaging is so easy to misinterpret. Phrases like "reared with care happy hens" or "farm fresh" have no legal definition whatsoever. They tell you nothing about how much space the birds had, whether they saw natural light, or whether they were slow-growing breeds. But for the older generation, these gentle, reassuringly British-sounding words create a strong sense of safety. I've met many who truly believed they were buying high-welfare chicken simply because of a few kind-sounding words. In reality, they were not. What genuinely concerns me are the figures showing antibiotic-resistant E. coli previously detected in about 1/4 of samples from standard chicken lines. This is a sign of overuse or reliance on antibiotics in farming. For younger people, antibiotic-resistant bacteria may cause little more than discomfort. But for those over 50, especially with heart disease or diabetes, a bout of bacterial diarrhea can turn into a prolonged infection requiring strong medication. The body at this age simply does not respond as quickly, and treating antibiotic-resistant infections is always much more difficult. All of this makes me look at Tesco with more caution than usual. Tesco remains a pillar of British daily life, and I fully understand why so many trust them. The issue is that Tesco is too big, too familiar, and precisely because of that, it becomes easier for us to overlook important things. Tesco tops the list not because they are the most dangerous, but because their influence is enormous and consumer misunderstandings are widespread. And when we move on to the second supermarket, the story shifts to an entirely different kind of risk, one that is perhaps even more uncomfortable. Number 2, Asda. If you still remember food news from nearly 10 years ago, the name at the top of the Campylobacter contaminated chicken list might still linger somewhere in your mind. That is right, Asda. For many, merely mentioning Asda chicken brings back a rather uneasy feeling. And to be fair, that feeling did not come from nowhere. Asda has always had a very particular place in British life. It is where families trying to stretch every pound often go, where you can fill a trolley with food without feeling your wallet evaporate. I completely understand the appeal of those prices because who does not want cheap chicken? But in my work, every time I look at data on Asda chicken, I feel a slight dip in the stomach. Cheap is not always good news, especially when we are talking about fresh chicken. The FSA survey in 2014 and 2015 drew the attention of the entire food industry. Asda topped the chart in a way no one wished to. At one point, around 80% of samples tested positive for Campylobacter, and nearly 1/3 were heavily contaminated. I remember that period very clearly because whenever anyone asked me about bacterial risks from chicken, Asda was almost the first name that came to mind. And the important thing is that Campylobacter is not the sort of bacteria you can dismiss as ordinary tummy trouble. Campylobacter causes severe diarrhea, fever, gut cramps, and rapid dehydration. The body can become exhausted, blood pressure drops, and some people require IV fluids. I once met a patient who thought they just had a mild case of food poisoning, and a few hours later they were in hospital completely drained. That is why I always remain cautious when discussing Asda chicken, no matter how much people say things have improved. And yes, Asda has changed. They talk about reducing stocking densities, expanding high welfare options, and joining BCC discussions. I welcome all of that. But when you look at the products that sell the most, especially their cheap fresh chicken, most still follow standard industrial models, which means the risks that existed before have not vanished entirely. Then this year, another incident made it impossible for me to look away. Asda had to recall hot and spicy chicken breast slices because of incorrect use by dates. Getting the use by date wrong on chicken is never a small matter. Younger people may detect an odd smell or unusual texture. Older people cannot always rely on their senses the same way. They trust the label. And when the label is wrong, things become genuinely dangerous. Asda today is certainly not the Asda of 2014, but the shadow of Campylobacter, and mistakes like this year's use by error are enough for me to place them on this list. And the irony is that the next name sits at the opposite end of the spectrum, a supermarket renowned for quality, kindness, and refinement. Yet their misstep heads in an entirely different direction. Number 3, Marks & Spencer. I truly did not expect the most elegant name in Britain to stumble into the sort of mistake usually found in cheaper products. But earlier this year, M&S made me reconsider a few things I myself once firmly believed. I understand why. M&S was the first national retailer to convert all its fresh chicken to slow-growing breeds, 100% RSPCA, assured with more space and full natural light. From the outside, M&S looks like the flawless version of British food retail, and perhaps this is why their recent slip made me frown. At the end of January this year, M&S in Northern Ireland had to urgently recall 2 breaded chicken products, crispy southern fried chicken burgers, and 2 chicken Kievs. The reason made me read it twice because I thought I had misread it. Salmonella. The FSA even issued a do not eat warning asking customers to return the products. I do not deny that any supermarket can have an incident, but when the name behind it is M&S, the feeling is entirely different. It is like hearing that a model teacher has failed an exam. What worries me most is not only the salmonella, but the fact that it appeared in breaded chicken products, heavily used by older adults. Convenient food, easy, quick, requiring little handling. I have met many who simply heat it in the oven for a few minutes and eat, and that is the problem. The golden crispy coating looks delightfully cooked easily, giving the impression that the inside is thoroughly done. Younger bodies recover faster from mistakes, but after 50, the immune system does not work the way it used to. Some people infected with salmonella show no strong symptoms on the first day, leaving them unaware that the bacteria has spread deeper. Others do not get obvious diarrhea, but suffer joint pain fatigue or intermittent fever, never realizing it came from the convenient chicken they had the previous evening. For those with underlying conditions, the risks are higher still. Salmonella can trigger reactive arthritis lasting weeks, or in people with cardiovascular disease, it can cause rare but genuinely dangerous vascular complications. These details are often overlooked, but I have seen them many times, and that is why I cannot take this incident lightly. M&S remains a reliable place for many foods, I do not deny that. But with breaded chicken, I want you to be just a touch more alert. Not because M&S has become worse, but because sometimes the more perfect a place appears, the deeper and quieter the consequences when something does go wrong. Number 4, Lidl. I have always believed that low prices are not the issue. The issue is what has been cut in order to create that price. And when it comes to cheap chicken in the UK, it is hard to overlook Lidl. Many people choose Lidl because of its straightforwardness. Cheap is simply cheap without fuss, without embellishment, without the feeling of being dazzled. You walk in, push your trolley around, and can walk out with a week's worth of food at a price that makes you feel you have shopped wisely. I understand that, and I certainly have no prejudice against low prices. But with chicken, my question is always, how exactly is it this cheap? In recent years, many animal welfare organisations have spoken about ultra-fast growing chicken breeds, often ironically referred to as Franken chickens. These birds are bred to gain weight so quickly that their bodies can barely keep up. Their legs cannot support the weight, their hearts struggle. Their skin burns from lying too long on damp litter. They grow so fast that you almost feel their bodies are being stretched. And when I read reports about such flocks, the first thought that comes to my mind is, there is no way an animal grown like that can produce good quality meat. I am not saying Lidl chicken is always bad, but when a system is built to sell chicken at the lowest possible price, cuts must be made somewhere. And more often than not, the first thing to be cut is the welfare of the bird. This creates an indirect risk for those over 50, not the sort of immediate poisoning, but a slow, persistent, hard-to-notice kind of effect. For example, fast-growing chickens often have higher levels of visceral fat than slow-growing chickens. For you in your 20s, that is just a few grams of fat. But after 50, this becomes a factor that makes meals more likely to cause bloating, indigestion, or worsen fatty liver. I have met many people who have eaten industrial chicken for years and always wondered why their liver enzymes increased even though they hardly drank alcohol. Additionally, stress in animals affects meat quality. Chickens raised in high-density environments with little movement and limited light have higher biological stress levels. This leads to certain phenomena consumers sometimes see but do not understand, such as mushy meat or areas that are alternately tough and soft. For younger people, the body processes this type of protein more efficiently, but for older adults, digestion is less flexible, making bloating or fatigue after meals more common. And as you know, this feeling can last the entire day, affecting sleep, blood pressure, and blood glucose. I know some will say that low prices make life more comfortable. That is true, but when it comes to health, especially at this age, protein quality matters more than you think. A chicken that grows too quickly is never a chicken that is good for long-term human health. And then when we look at the final name on the list, the story takes a completely different turn. It is no longer about breeds, nor about welfare or growth rates. This time, the issue lies in the very origin of the chickens that end up on the shelves. And believe me, this is the most unexpected blow for those who think they have chosen the right place to buy chicken. Number 5. Morrisons. There are things that do not poison you immediately, but quietly erode your trust bit by bit. And with Morrisons, what concerns me most is not on the use by label or in the breaded coating. It lies in the one place very few pay attention to, the origin of the chicken. Morrisons has long been seen as a supermarket friendly to British farmers, with imagery of fields farms and high-quality local produce. Many older people choose Morrisons because they believe it remains loyal to local farmers in the true spirit of British produce. I understand that very well. The feeling of buying chicken and believing you are supporting domestic production brings reassurance for many. Perhaps that is why I was startled when I read The Guardian's investigation this year about fresh chicken imported from Poland being placed right next to British chicken. You did not mishear. Imported chicken placed as though it belonged to the same category as British chicken. Poland is not unsafe, but its welfare and environmental standards are lower than those of the UK. More importantly, the labelling is not always clear, leading shoppers to assume they are buying British farm chicken. I do not object to imports, but I object to ambiguity. Imported food is not as frightening as consumers not knowing what they are actually buying. British farmers and the NFU criticised this openly. They called it a betrayal of domestic farmers. But for me, the scariest part is not the economic issue. The real concern is that older adults often trust UK and EU standards more than any other information. They buy chicken and believe everything is monitored, that they are eating clean produce of the right standard. But if the origin is unclear, that trust is put at risk. The risk is not in flavour, but in the inconsistency of quality and factors that no one can detect with the naked eye. Imported chicken must go through a longer supply chain, more checkpoints, more cold storage. This does not mean it is unsafe, but each step in the chain is a potential point for small errors. Just one temperature issue during transport is enough to make the meat less fresh than you think. Younger bodies can handle this variation well, but after 50 immunity weakens reactions slow, and sometimes just one imperfect meal can leave you exhausted for days. I have seen many such cases, and not everyone realizes the cause. Meat quality from places with lower standards also fluctuates more between batches. You may buy once and find it fine, and the next time it feels tougher, softer, or harder to digest. Older adults need stable protein sources, not a gamble. This may not be obvious immediately, but over time, the body will reflect it. Feeling tired more quickly, bloating after meals, poorer sleep. Small signs that accumulate into bigger issues. And after going through 5 names to avoid, I do not want you to remain in unease. Because right after this, there are 2 places where you can buy chicken with genuine relief. 2 places where I as a specialist can say you will be much safer choosing from. Number 1. Waitrose. At last, there is a place where I can say you may finally breathe out a little. After 5 names that require constant vigilance, Waitrose feels like stepping into a brighter, calmer room where things are done the way they should have been from the start. I have always felt that Waitrose does not simply sell food. They sell decency, and I say that without exaggeration. Waitrose has a very distinct identity. It is not the mainstream Tesco, not the low-cost Asda, not the traditionally elegant M&S. Nor is it like Lidl with its minimalist model, or Morrisons with its friendly local imagery. Waitrose customers are not necessarily wealthy, but they are often those who refuse to compromise on quality. They want to know how the chicken was raised, what it ate, how it lived, and that places pressure on Waitrose to maintain standards that other supermarkets struggle to meet. I always say that if you want to buy something without having to think too hard about the ethics, Waitrose is the place to look first. What I value most at Waitrose is that they have completed the better chicken commitment for all their own brand chicken. This is no easy achievement. The BCC requires slow-growing breeds, natural light comfortable movement space, and prohibits the use of ultra-fast growing breeds. Many supermarkets commit partially, but Waitrose applies it fully even to processed and frozen chicken. I have visited a few farms that supply Waitrose, and the feeling is entirely different from typical industrial farms. There is no deafening fan noise, no flocks lying still from exhaustion, no harsh smell of accumulated waste. The air is lighter, and looking at the birds you can sense they live according to their natural biological rhythm. Waitrose also has a strength I wish other supermarkets would learn from. They do not play label games. There are no phrases like reared with care or farm fresh that sound gentle but mean nothing. On a Waitrose chicken label, you see clear criteria. Welfare standards breed rearing conditions, welfare scores. Everything is printed clearly, easy to read, suitable even for older adults who dislike complicated searching. I believe this transparency is as important as product quality. It makes customers feel respected. In terms of health, Waitrose's slow-growing chicken has many advantages that those over 50 will notice distinctly. The meat is firmer yet easier to digest without the mushiness or excessive toughness of fast-growing breeds. With less stress, the protein quality is more stable, helping the body absorb it better and reducing heaviness after meals. This is vital when digestion and metabolism begin to slow with age. High welfare chicken also relies less on antibiotics, meaning a lower indirect risk related to antimicrobial resistance, something I find particularly concerning as it strongly affects older adults. And because their supply chain is clear, short, and well controlled, the sense of mental safety when eating is higher, something many overlook but is crucial for long-term health. I am not saying Waitrose is perfect, but I can say this is the place I confidently recommend when someone asks where to buy chicken. It is not simply about taste, but the feeling that the chicken you bring home has been raised properly and monitored thoroughly. And if you like shopping online, prefer organic chicken, or want more premium choices without leaving home, there is one more name I want you to consider. No aisles, no trolleys clashing, but a level of quality that surprises many. Number 2, Ocado. If Waitrose helps you breathe a little easier, then Ocado is made for the days when you want that same relief without stepping outside your door. I know many people over 50 still prefer choosing their own food in the supermarket, but there are also days when your knee clicks a little when it rains a bit, or when you simply do not want to push your way through the crowd at peak time. And that is when Ocado becomes superior. What reassures me about Ocado is the cleanliness and precision in how they operate. They use an automated picking system in their fulfillment centres, so the chicken you receive is not being lifted, squeezed, put back, or handled incorrectly by strangers. I have observed this process, and to be honest, it is tidy, orderly, and so well controlled that very few traditional supermarkets can match it. Each pack of chicken moves from the cold storage to the delivery bag without ever getting stuck on a shelf or lying in the middle of a busy aisle. For fresh chicken, especially organic or free range, this matters more than you think. The reason Ocado is seen as a safe choice lies in the brands they work with. This is where you can find more organic free range and slow-grown chicken than in most major supermarkets. They do not face pressure over shelf space or in store presentation, so their premium chicken range is surprisingly broad. If Waitrose is the place you trust when standing inside a supermarket, then Ocado is the place you trust when you want high-quality chicken delivered to your door. Not chaotic, not mass market, but brands you may not even find in a regular store. One point I particularly appreciate is that Ocado's cold chain is almost seamless. There is no chicken sitting on a counter for too long, no other customer opening and replacing packs, no staff forgetting to put stock back in the fridge. The travel time from depot to your doorstep is clearly controlled, which suits older adults who are more sensitive to freshness. And more importantly, Ocado has an automated error checking system, making mistakes in use by dates extremely unlikely. For those who have been nervous about mislabeled dates in certain other supermarkets, This accuracy is genuinely a relief. What I like about Ocado is not only the quality, but also the sense that they understand their customers. Everything is clear, easy to select. From organic to free range, everything is neatly categorized. There is no need to crouch to read tiny print the way you do in traditional supermarkets. This makes the shopping experience far lighter, especially for anyone who wants to eat healthily without complicating their life. But regardless of where you buy Waitrose or Ocado or somewhere else that suits you, there is one important thing I want you to hold on to firmly. Where you buy your chicken is only part of the story. What determines your health is how you choose chicken. Now let us come to the most important principles when choosing and eating chicken to stay truly healthy. Principles for choosing chicken. Chicken still plays a very important role in everyone's meals, especially when you are no longer young. It is a source of lean, easily digestible protein, lower in fat than red meat, and suitable for maintaining muscle and stamina. But after listening to everything earlier, I understand your concerns. Clearly, chicken is no longer the simple subject it once was, and this is the moment for us to stay calm, sit down together, and talk honestly. Chicken is still good. We just need to know how to choose and cook it safely. First of all, prioritize fresh whole cuts of chicken. The more processed the product is, the more salt, unhealthy fats, and flavor enhancers it contains. At your age, these things can easily raise blood pressure, make the heart work harder, cause water retention, and put strain on the kidneys. A box of ready-cooked chicken looks convenient, but it is also one of the groups most frequently recalled. If you want something quick, choosing fresh chicken and seasoning it yourself is far safer. When looking at packaging, instead of trusting pleasant-sounding phrases like reared with care or farm, fresh look for meaningful logos such as RSPCA, Assured or Soil Association Organic. These logos tell you the chicken was raised under lower stress conditions, with more consistent quality and often lower risks of antibiotic residues or bacterial contamination. In truth, simply choosing correctly labeled products helps you avoid a great deal of risk already. I know many people still buy cheap chicken thinking it is all the same. Honestly, cheap is sometimes not cheap at all. The ultra-cheap packs are often marinated with lots of salt and additives to extend shelf life. They make you tired, puffy, and more likely to have high blood pressure. Spending a bit more on fresh chicken is not necessarily more expensive than the cost of feeling exhausted after eating something of poor quality. And when you bring chicken home, follow a few small but highly effective rules. Do not wash raw chicken, as splashing water spreads bacteria around the kitchen. Always store raw chicken on the lowest shelf of the fridge so its juices do not drip onto vegetables or ready-to-eat food. When cooking, the thickest part of the meat must lose all pink color and the juices must run clear. If you have a thermometer, aim for around 75 degrees Celsius. In short, no one needs to fear chicken. With just a little more understanding, choosing the right type and cooking it properly, you protect yourself far better than most of what the system can do for you. Chicken is still delicious, still healthy, and can absolutely remain your companion for many years to come. We have just gone through a journey that is not easy, from hidden truths to safe choices that many people have never even considered. But everything I have shared today is only the beginning, because your health does not lie in a single video, but in how you keep asking questions, keep staying alert, and keep choosing correctly. I want you to remember this: food never stands still. Today, chicken is the issue, but tomorrow it could be eggs, fish, red meat, or even the foods you believe are the most harmless. If you want, we can explore further together. What would you like me to analyze in the next video? Beef, salmon, canned food? Or do you want me to decode the marketing language supermarkets use to hide the truth? Just tell me. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe so you do not miss the next guides. We still have many foods to explore, to examine, and to clarify, and I promise I will always be here to help you see what many people do not.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage education. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.